youth in different cities that you stopped at. What's your take, because I think you've been early on this, on, 21 Savage had the streets movement that he kind of has been promoting these last...
I don't even fuck like that. I am the streets, I love the streets, I come from the streets. I ain't never put that shit.
Stop saying my motherfucking name. Don't think cause a nigga trying to change that. Man, y'all niggas sit down.
Man, listen. Things just went left in a real serious way. Because 21 Savage finally snapped after being called out by none other than Youngboy Never Broke Again. And now the internet is watching two of the most respected names in hip-hop move towards something that honestly feels dangerous. This ain't playful rap beef. This ain't subliminal bars and Twitter jokes. This is the type of situation where egos, pride, and real street history collide. And when that happens, things can spiral fast. I'm talking about the kind of tension where people start saying, somebody better step in before bodies start dropping, because the energy is getting way too heavy. So let's slow this thing down and really break it apart, because this story got layers on layers, and once you understand everything behind it, you'll see why this situation hit such a nerve on both sides. To really understand how we even got here, you gotta rewind for a second, because this didn't start with one interview or one comment. This been brewing quietly for a minute now. See, 21 Savage has been on this whole forget the streets movement for a while. And when I say a while, I mean years. My man been traveling city to city, sitting down with kids in the hood, talking to young boys who still deep in gang culture, telling them straight up that this life ain't worth it. He been telling them there's more to life than blocks, sets, and colors. On the surface, that sounds like something everybody should respect. Like, who gonna argue with somebody trying to stop kids from dying? But here's where it gets complicated. When you come from where 21 comes from, East Atlanta, Zone 6, real trenches, real loss, real trauma, not everybody gonna receive that message the same way. Because to some people, especially ones still active, it sounds like you're preaching from a place of safety. It feels like you already made it out, now you telling us how to live. And that's where the resentment starts creeping in. Now don't get it twisted. 21 Savage didn't just wake up one day and decide to play motivational speaker. This ain't fake. This ain't industry PR. This man really lived what he raps about. On his 21st birthday, he got shot 6 times. 6. And his homeboy didn't make it. That moment literally created the name 21 Savage. That name is tied to death, survival, and trauma. It ain't just branding, it's a memorial. So when 21 speaks about the streets, he's not talking from theory, he's talking from pain. Before the fame, before the Grammys, before the millions, he lost his brother Qantas to gun violence. Then he lost his close friend Larry. These weren't acquaintances, these were day ones, people he grew up with, people he loved. And when you experience that type of loss again and again, something changes in you. You either crash out or you grow up, and 21 shows growth. If you go back and listen to his early music, he wasn't sugarcoating nothing. Songs like No Heart and X were raw, no filter, straight street talk. But as he got older, richer, and more aware, his mindset shifted. He started realizing that kids was watching him, mimicking him, wanting to live what he once lived, and that started weighing on him heavy. That's when the movement really started taking shape. Financial literacy programs, the 21 Savage bank account, teaching kids how to save money, how credit works, how to build something instead of destroying everything. Then he launched the Leading by Example Foundation, real work, real effort, not just Instagram posts. But everything changed once he started saying it out loud, once he started speaking boldly, once he started saying things like, forget your block, forget your set, that don't matter in the long run. That's when the message stopped being neutral and started becoming controversial. In Atlanta, most people understood it. They seen his journey. They knew he earned the right to speak. But once that message reached other cities, Chicago, Louisiana, California, reactions became mixed. OGs respected it. They done buried too many friends not to. But younger dudes, the ones still in it, they felt disrespected, like he was invalidating their reality, like he was saying their struggle wasn't real. And that's where Youngboy enters the picture. Because a lot of people forget, 21 Savage and Youngboy weren't enemies at first. They actually had mutual respect. Back in 2019, 2020, there was no smoke, no disses, no tension, just two artists dominating their lanes. But behind the scenes, something else was quietly building. When the whole Lil Durk and Youngboy situation exploded, that changed everything. That beef is not entertainment. That's real life, real death, real consequences. When King Von was killed in Atlanta, everything intensified. Emotions were high, lines were drawn, and even silence started getting interpreted as choosing sides. 21 being from Atlanta and being cool with Durk automatically put him in a tricky position. Even though he never directly dissed Youngboy, small things started getting noticed. Who he stood next to, what posts he liked, where his loyalty appeared to lean. Whether he meant it or not, tension started simmering underneath the surface. So now imagine this from Youngboy's perspective. Ye Beef is only 25 years old, but he's lived about 5 lifetimes worth of trauma. Shot at, stabbed, locked up, fighting cases non-stop, watching friends die, being hunted while on house arrest. For him, the streets ain't something he can just walk away from. Even if you wanted to, they not done with him. There's still active beef, still threats, still unfinished business. So when someone says forget the streets to him, it don't sound inspirational. It sounds like you don't understand what I'm still dealing with. And Youngboy has never been the type to filter himself. He don't play politically correct. He speaks from emotion every time. So when that interviewer brought up 21's movement, you could already tell Ye B was irritated. And when he responded, he didn't hold back at all. He said straight up he didn't care about that message, said he is the streets, said he loves the streets. And then he went even further, basically calling the movement fake and soft. That wasn't just disagreement, that was disrespect. And when he said, that's the narrative somebody pushing, I'm pushing my narrative, that was him drawing a hard line, basically saying, what you preaching ain't my truth. And once that clip hit the internet, it was over. Social media exploded instantly, fans picking sides, think pieces everywhere. One side saying Youngboy was keeping it real, the other side saying 21 was trying to save lives and getting clowned for it. It got ugly fast. Then came the response, because shortly after, 21 Savage hopped online visibly heated. Now officially he was responding to 5-Yo Foreign, but anybody with common sense knew that timing wasn't a coincidence. And when 21 started talking, you could hear the frustration in his voice. This wasn't calculated, this was emotional. He said, stop saying my name, stop thinking because I'm trying to change that I'm soft. And then he dropped that reminder that made everybody pause. He basically told folks, don't forget, Savage really did that in real life. Don't let the positive message confuse you. He's not to be played with. And when he said, don't think because Savage on some positive stuff that you can just talk about Savage all day, that sounded like a warning, not rap talk, not promo, a warning. And that's when the mood shifted. Because now this ain't just ideology clashing. Now it's pride, reputation, respect. Two men who both survived the streets, both lost people, both got loyal fan bases, but standing on completely different philosophies. One saying, let's end this cycle. The other saying, this cycle ain't done with me yet. And that's what makes this situation scary. Because neither one of them is lying. They're both speaking from their truth. And when two truths collide in hip-hop, especially with street history attached, things can escalate faster than anybody expects. Right now, it's still words, still energy, still tension. But everybody watching knows this is the kind of beef that don't need another sentence added to it. Because one wrong move, one reckless post, one misunderstood message, and it could turn into something nobody can take back. So the real question is, does somebody step in and cool this down? Or are we about to watch another situation spiral when it never had to? Because history already showed us how these stories usually end, and nobody wins.
Because the ultimate irony would be two men who both survived the streets ending up contributing to the same cycle they claim to hate. That's the part nobody wants to say out loud. That's the uncomfortable truth sitting right in the middle of this whole situation. If this goes left, if egos get involved, if people around them start hyping it up instead of calming it down, then everybody loses. Not just 21, not just Youngboy, the fans lose, the culture loses, and most importantly, the kids watching from the sidelines lose. Because whether people want to admit it or not, These rappers are role models, even when they don't ask to be, even when they reject the title. The moment you got millions of followers and your words travel farther than your body ever could, you influencing somebody, always. So when fans see two artists they idolize clashing over street ideology, that message spreads way faster than the deeper conversation ever could. And that's where this whole thing gets dangerous. Because now it's not just about 21 and Youngboy anymore. It's about what their fans take from it. One side hears, ain't nothing wrong with the streets, stand on it no matter what. The other side hears, anybody still in the streets is lost. And both of those extremes can be harmful if taken without context. What makes this even heavier is that both of these men are speaking from trauma. And trauma doesn't always sound logical. Trauma doesn't always come out clean. Sometimes it comes out aggressive, sometimes it comes out defensive, sometimes it comes out loud because the pain underneath is even louder. When 21 says, y'all ain't cried enough, that's not arrogance, that's grief talking. That's somebody who buried people and never really got the chance to heal from it. That's somebody who probably still hears names in his head late at night. When Youngboy says, I am the streets, that's not glorification. That's somebody who never got a chance to fully leave, somebody whose environment followed him even after the money came. Two different wounds, same source. And the saddest part, they probably agree on more than they realize. Neither one wants kids dying, neither one wants families grieving, neither one wants more funerals. They just speak in different languages shaped by different stages of survival. 21 is speaking from the I made it out and don't want anyone else to go through what I did perspective. Youngboy is speaking from the I'm still fighting to stay alive every day perspective. Both valid, both painful. But hip-hop doesn't reward patience or understanding. It rewards reaction. It rewards viral moments. It rewards outrage. So instead of people saying, damn, both of y'all hurting, they saying, who you riding with, like it's a team sport. And that's how situations escalate. Because when fans start instigating, when blogs start clipping things out of context, when people around artists start whispering in their ear, that's when pride kicks in. Nobody wants to look weak. Nobody wants to look like they back down. And suddenly the original message gets lost completely. You already see it happening online. People not even talking about the youth anymore. They talking about who more street, who more gangster, who did more, who shot who really outside. Like that's the scoreboard that matters. That's exactly what 21 been saying he tired of. And ironically, that's exactly what this beef pulled him back into. At the same time, Youngboy probably feels like he's being judged by people who don't live his reality anymore. Like everybody wants him to change, but nobody wants to help him survive the transition. Because leaving the streets isn't just about mindset, it's about safety, it's about protection, it's about unresolved enemies, it's about trauma responses that don't just disappear because your bank account grew. And that's something a lot of people don't understand. You can take a man out the hood, but that don't mean the hood done with him. So now we sitting in this moment where both sides feel misunderstood, both sides feel attacked, both sides feel like they standing on truth. And that's the most dangerous kind of conflict, when nobody believes they wrong. Right now, the smartest move would be silence. Let it cool off. Let the internet move on like it always does. Because the moment this turns into diss records or direct callouts, it becomes something else entirely. History already taught us how fast rap beef can turn into real-life tragedy. We've seen it too many times. And that's why people nervous watching this unfold. Not because they want drama, but because they recognize the energy, that heavy, volatile energy that don't feel like entertainment. It feels unresolved, it feels emotional, it feels personal. At the end of the day, this ain't really about who right or who wrong. It's about whether hip-hop can grow without losing its soul, whether artists can evolve without being accused of betrayal, whether someone can say, I want better without being labeled fake, and whether someone can still love where they come from without being trapped by it forever. Those are questions bigger than one interview, bigger than one rant, bigger than one viral clip. And until the culture figures that out, these kinds of clashes will keep happening over and over again. Different names, same pain, same outcome. The hope is that this one stops at words, because the streets already took enough from both of them, and it don't need to take anything else.
Because when you really sit back and think about it, this whole situation is a reflection of where the culture is right now. Conflicted, torn, stuck between survival and growth, stuck between honoring the past and trying to build a future that don't end in a casket or a prison cell. That's why this conversation hits so hard. Not because it's entertaining, but because it's uncomfortable. It forces people to look at truths they'd rather avoid. Hip-hop was born from struggle. It came from poverty, neglect, violence, and pain. So of course, the streets are woven into its DNA.
You can't erase that history. You can't pretend it didn't shape the sound, the attitude, the swagger, the voice. But at the same time, you can't pretend the cost hasn't been devastating. Too many legends gone, too many families broken, too many names turned into hashtags. That's the space 21 Savage is speaking from now. He's not denying where he came from. He's saying he doesn't want the next generation to suffer the same fate. He's saying if he could go back and change things, he would. And that's something a lot of people don't understand until it's too late. Growth doesn't mean disrespecting your roots. Sometimes it means realizing your roots almost killed you. And Youngboy's stance comes from a different place entirely. It comes from still being in the storm, from feeling hunted, from feeling like every move could be your last, from knowing that peace isn't always an option when danger keeps knocking on your door. His loyalty runs deep, his pride runs deep, and for him, switching up doesn't feel like evolution, it feels like abandonment. That's why neither one of them sounds crazy if you really listen. The problem is the internet don't listen, it reacts. It clips 10 seconds and ignores the context. It fuels fan wars. It turns pain into entertainment. And before you know it, something that could have been a real conversation turns into a scoreboard of insults and threats. And that's why people nervous, because hip-hop has lost too many voices already. We watched arguments turn fatal. We watched misunderstandings end careers and lives. And every time it happens, everybody acts shocked, even though we saw the warning signs weeks before. Right now, this still has a chance to die down, still has a chance to cool off, still has a chance to stay exactly where it should be, a disagreement, not a war, because neither 21 Savage nor NBA Youngboy truly benefits from pushing this further. They both successful, they both influential, they both survived things that should have killed them. The smartest thing for the culture would be for this to stop right here. But whether it does or not depends on maturity, restraint, and the people around them. Because sometimes the biggest danger isn't the artists themselves, it's the voices whispering in their ear, telling them they gotta respond, they gotta prove something, they can't let that slide. And that's how pride becomes poison. At the end of the day, this whole situation really asks one big question. Can hip-hop grow up without losing its identity? Can artists evolve without being accused of being fake? Can someone say, "I want better," without being told they forgot where they came from? Those are questions the culture still don't have answers to.